Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Dr. James Koshar of Valley College. I'm your instructor for your Management 105 Principles of Management course. Hope you're doing well. I have 3 videos for you, one for each week. One thing I want to go ahead and address is if you need anything, if you need to contact me, get a hold of me as soon as possible. This is a fast-paced course. We'll be done. We start Monday, August 18th, and our last day is Thursday, the 4th of September. I believe I've got that right. So it's like 2.5 weeks. So stay on top of your studies, stay on top of your work. If you need something, let me know. Okay, and all of us instructors and the staff at Valley College want you to succeed and do well. So let's go ahead and get started. Chapter one is on labor unions and collective bargaining. And which is an important topic. And it also covers labor laws in the United States. You'll want to know these about the Norris LaGuardia Act, the National Law Relations Act. Again, this is in your text, the Fair Labor Standards Act, the Labor Management Relations Act. Again, you want to know about these. You'll want to know about a statement from the text is prior to 1932, no federal laws addressed the rights of workers to unionize or union functions. That really wasn't that long ago. You want to know about what employment at will is, and you want to know about the National Labor Relations Act, the Wagner Act. Also, know the difference between a closed shop and a union shop. The Labor Management Relations Act, the Taft-Hartley Act, passed in 1947. It placed limits on union activities. It outlawed the closed shop and allowed states to pass right-to-work laws that made union shops illegal. So you want to read up on that, know that. Oh, right-to-work law, a state law that makes union shops illegal within that state's borders. An open shop, an employment arrangement in which workers are not required to join a union or pay union dues. In your text, you'll have Exhibit A12. It shows the states that have right-to-work laws. You want to know about, in Chapter 1, collective bargaining, reaching an agreement, what collective bargaining is. You want to know about distributive bargaining, interest-based bargaining, what a strike is and a lockout. A strike is a work stoppage initiated by a union. A lockout is an employer-initiated work stoppage. You're locked out of the office. You're locked out of the workspace. You've got things that make up that, picketing and a boycott. You'll want to read about that. Also, companies can take care of things by going through mediation or arbitration. In this year, it's still unions are still having a difficult time, forming. It's still very challenging. However, on average, union workers earn about 10% to 20% more than non-union workers, and they usually have better benefits. You'll want to make sure you read about the areas about the state of unions. How are they doing? Make sure that you do that. Chapter 2 goes over business law. This is an important chapter, or for you to know. know about laws, rules that govern the conduct and actions of people within a society that are enforced by the government. Okay. You want to know about that. You want to know about a constitution, a code that establishes the fundamental rules and principles that govern a particular organization or entity. Statutory law, law that is the result of legislative action. And the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, a uniform act governing the sales of goods, leases, warranties, transfer of funds, and a variety of other business-related activities. So you want to read about that in Chapter 2. Chapter 2 also goes over administrative law, laws that arise from regulations established by government agencies, and case law, also called common law, laws that result from rulings called precedents made by judges who initially hear a particular type of case. This is an important area in Chapter 2, knowing civil versus criminal law. Civil law deals with disputes between private parties. Criminal law involves cases in which the state investigates and prosecutes alleged wrongdoers accused of violation of their public duty. You'll want to make sure that you know that. Further in Chapter 2, it talks about what a contract is, an agreement that is enforceable, an express contract, an implied contract. So what's a valid contract? There must be mutual agreement. Both parties must offer consideration, something of value. Breach of contract. When a party fails to satisfy the term of a contract, it's a breach of contract. Or statute of limitations. You might know what that is. It's the time period within which a legal action must be initiated. If it's not, the contract's broken. Remedies of a contract dispute, compensatory damages, or specific performance. Later on in Chapter 2, it talks about what a sale is, a transaction in which the title to a good passes from one party to another. A title is what? Legal ownership, right? Like your title to your car, etc. Other legal terms, you've got principal-agent relationship, a relationship in which one party called the principal gives the another party called the agent the authority to act in place of and bind the principal when dealing with third parties. Scope of authority, to the extent to which an agent has the authority to act for and represent the principal. I'm just going through the chapter here on areas that you should know about. You should know about bankruptcy, procedures governed by federal law that provide the means for debtors who are unable to meet their obligations to discharge their debts and get a fresh start. What kind of bankruptcies are they? You might have heard of these casually. A Chapter 7, the Chapter 11, or Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Make sure you read about these areas in your text. What kind of properties are there? Property, it's the legal right of an owner to exclude non-owners from having control over a particular resource. Intellectual property, property that results from intellectual or creative efforts. Know about patents, trademarks, and copyright. I'm just going through once again the chapters here. Chapter 3, the world marketplace, business without borders. Yeah. U.S. trade policy from the 1950s through 2016 moved towards increasing free trade and globalization. You want to know about, in Chapter 3, opportunity cost, the opportunity giving up the second best choice when making a decision, absolute advantage, the benefit a country has in a given industry when it can produce more of a product than other nations using the same amount of resources. Let's see, an example of that would be, well, hey, the United States producing chips and software that we make the most. Know about trade, global trade, balance of trade, a basic measure of the difference in value between a nation's exports and imports. Know about, again, in trade, about balance of payment, balance of payment deficit. Know about exchange rate. Exchange rate, you hear about that casually. It's a measurement of the value of one nation's currency relative to the currency of another's. When you know about foreign outsourcing and insourcing, this is a good two good phrases: joint ventures, when two or more companies join forces, and a partnership, a voluntary agreement under which two or more people act as co-owners of a business for profit. Later on in Chapter 3, it talks about barriers to international trade. One term they bring up is infrastructure, a country's physical facilities that support economic activity. Later on in Chapter 3, it talks about tariffs, quotas, voluntary export restraints, embargo. That's in 3.6 of Chapter 3. 3.7 in Chapter 3, they talk about free trade, the World Trade Organization, WTO. It talks about the World Bank. The World Bank, it's an international cooperative, 189 member countries working together to reduce poverty in the developing world. Later on, they talk about the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, which replaced NAFTA, North America Free Trade Agreement, in 2020. Know about the European Union, which is comprised of 27 European nations. Chapter 4, very important: business ethics and social responsibility, doing well by doing good. Know about universal ethical standards, ethical norms that apply to all people across a broad spectrum of situations, or no matter where you're from. Okay, you'd have to say that anybody in the world that was ethical would have these traits or characteristics, that being of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, a sense of fairness, caring, and citizenship. Talk about business ethics. It's not an oxymoron. Business ethics, the application of right and wrong, good and bad in a business setting. An ethical dilemma, a decision that involves a conflict of values, every potential course of action that has some significant negative consequences. A lot of companies are working on this, talking about a code of ethics. It's a formal written document that defines the ethical standards of an organization and gives employees the information they need to make ethical decisions across the range of situations. Again, know what a stakeholder is in business. You know what that is. That's any group or person that have a stake or a personal interest in the performance and actions of an organization. The consumer can be a stakeholder. Know about the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Basically, what the Sarbanes-Oxley Act said was this. Part of it, when a company comes out with their annual or quarterly statement, usually the first signature you'll see on that is from the CFO, Chief Financial Officer. And what the Oxley Act stated was that whatever is stated in that report needs to be the truth. What a concept. You would think they would have had that figured out, that they didn't have to pass a law about that, but that is the truth. Talking about later on in chapter 4, defining social responsibility, sustainable development, doing business to meet the needs of the current generation without harming the ability of future generations to meet their needs, and green marketing, developing and promoting environmentally sound products to gain a competitive edge. Okay, for chapter 5, business communication, creating and delivering messages that matter. What is communication? It's the transition of information between a sender and a recipient. You know that. What are some of the barriers to communications? Noise. It's an interference, or when someone goes, "That's not what I meant." Okay. Communication barriers, obstacles to effective communication, intercultural communication, communication among people with differing cultural backgrounds. Oh my goodness. A general example of that might be in some countries, it's prohibitive. You don't stand too close to that person, or you stand close to the person. And if someone's from a different nation and that's their opposite viewpoint, that's their opposite cultural viewpoint, that can set up a problem. What's active listening? Active listening that occurs when the listener focuses their complete attention on the speaker. Communication channels, the various ways in which a message can be sent, ranging from one-on-one in-person meetings to internet message boards or Zoom meetings or team meetings, etc. Again, I'm hitting just the high notes here from chapter 5. Chapter 5 is a good chapter. It talks a lot about culture again. One is avoiding bias. What's a bias? If you have a bias, and it's usually negative, right? It's a bias is usually negative about a person. A preconception, which is usually incorrect, about members of a particular group. Common forms of bias include gender bias, age bias, race, ethnicity, and nationality bias. Again, I just hit the high points of chapter 5 here. Talks about delivering successful verbal presentations, dynamic delivery, vibrant, compelling presentation, delivery style that grabs and holds the attention of the audience. So that's the wrap up of chapters 1 through 5. Again, any questions, you contact me. You're not bothering me, and I'll get back to you immediately. See you in week 2. Bye bye.